Welcome, everybody, to Travel Your Heart, a podcast where two gay grandpas explore life's travels together. Hey, everybody, it's Grandpa Bobby.
Grandpa Scott.
And welcome to another episode of Travel Your Heart, a podcast from two gay grandpas.
That would be us.
That would be us. So good morning, Grandpa. How are you doing today?
Good morning, Grandpa. I'm fine, and you?
I am doing just fine today. Excited about our new podcast.
Yeah.
What are we going to do today?
Well, we're going to do another Do Ask, Do Tell. We have received so many questions, and we actually kind of enjoy doing that. Gives you an idea a little bit more about us. And
These are actually some of my favorite videos and podcasts because they let us know what our followers are thinking about and what's important to them and what they want to know about us.
Yep.
So I'm going to be reading all the questions today for a very good reason. Why don't you tell them?
Yes, Grandpa Scott had a Cadillac.
Cadillac. No, you had a Cadillac?
I had cataract surgery. And this eye, and of course, being Grandpa Scott, what normally would take a few days is taking me a few weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks, yeah.
To kind of get over, so I'm still having some blurred vision.
Right, so I'm going to be reading the questions today, and Grandpa Scott hasn't seen these. What I've done is gotten all the questions together, and I jotted them down, and we haven't gone over any answers, so who knows what's going to come out of his mouth.
Coffee?
No. So why don't we start?
All right, you want to...
Okay, so this one came from a follower who has not traveled before. And she said, if you had to pick one country for a first-time traveler to visit, which country would you recommend and why?
Oh, boy.
That's a good question.
It's a great question.
Because there are so many great countries out there, great places to visit. What would you recommend? I know what I have in my mind.
Okay. Italy.
Yeah, I knew you'd go there.
And Italy, because of all of the historical sites that are there, and I love the history, the food.
I knew you'd mention the food.
The food, the wine.
Yes.
And again, of course, the people.
Yeah. There is, and Italy was going to be my answer too. The first thing that came to my head because there's so much diversity within a very short distance from one another because, Rome is so different from Venice. And you can get to Rome, to Florence, to Venice. You can get there fairly easily by train. So it's not very difficult to get around. The climate is pretty benign most of the year. And the people are friendly. And, of course, the food, the architecture, the art, absolutely fabulous.
The landscape, the geography from north to south, east to west is varied.
Yeah.
And it's just a pleasure. That is not to say other countries are not beautiful.
No.
Because they are. But
for a first time.
We were pigeonholed into picking one for a first timer.
Yeah, so I think that would be a recommendation. And you can also get, it's pretty inexpensive. Of course, everything is expensive these days. But, you can get a pizza for like €9-10 and have a full meal on that.
We had some of the best pizza ever at train stations.
I know. Yeah. I'm getting hungry already.
I know.
Anyway, let's move on. What's the most important piece of travel advice you can give?
You want to go first?
Okay, I'll go first on this one. My recommendation would be to just let go and get into it. Live in the moment. Don't worry about all the little things, what could go wrong, what might not happen, right? Just live in the moment. Enjoy it. Because so many times you're worried about, okay, I got to make this connection, and then we have to go here. And sometimes you forget to just look around and go, oh, my God, look at where I am. And sometimes you don't need to just always be looking at monuments. Sometimes it's the little villages. In our trip that we just recently took to the UK, some of the greatest fun we had were in little villages, castles that were not planned along the route. So just leave yourself open and live in the moment. What's your ideas?
That goes along with mine. Just go have fun. And you know what? If you miss a train, there'll be another one. All right? And so just go out, have fun. Try not to have too many expectations or preconceived notion, and just experience what you can. Just take it all in, absorb it.
Yep. Okay, this is interesting. What is the hardest thing about traveling that you find to be the hardest thing?
The hardest thing for me is air travel.
I knew you were going to go there.
I'm sorry, folks. Air travel has become horrible. It's like flying on just buses, city buses anymore. Uncomfortable, overpacked, hard seats, crappy food that you have to pay for.
Extra luggage fees.
They fee you to death. And it does make it not a pleasant experience.
Not like it used to be.
Yeah.
Unless you upgrade.
Yeah, well, but, even we did get an upgrade onto first class when we did the Google thing. And honestly, the first flight was okay, but that second flight was one of the dirtiest first classes I've ever been in.
Yeah.
I won't mention the airline, but tacky food left on the tray. It wasn't. That was first class.
Yeah.
And I'm going, what the heck did the economy people get?
Well, I will say air travel is also most difficult thing, but for a different reason than Grandpa Scott. Traveling with Grandpa Scott on an airplane is challenging, especially on a long flight. Now, for me, when I travel, I'm the type that, okay, I've got my book, I've got things loaded up on my pad, I'm just going to curl up into my corner, give me a little blanket and my pillow, and I'm just fine. And I'm great doing that. About halfway into the flight, Grandpa Scott will turn to me and go, I'm bored. Amuse me. I'm like, stop. It's like traveling with a 5-year-old. He gets so impatient. He just wants to be there.
Yeah.
So that makes traveling by air a little more challenging.
Yeah, I know, honey. I do that to you.
Next time I'm going to bring a coloring book for you.
Yeah, do. I find myself, if we're fortunate enough to be on a plane that has the screen on the back of the other person's seat, I'm following our trip, and I do enjoy that, but I'm not one to just sit with the movies.
Don't I know? I line up like 2 movies, and there's a book, and I go, what do I want to hit first? And he's like, play with me, I'm bored.
Actually, I do spend a lot of time on the cell phone playing poker, playing word games, anything to keep the gray cells functioning.
So if you have any idea of how I can keep him amused on a long trip, please share those comments.
I need a puppy.
How do you budget for your travels? Oy vey. One assumes that we budget for our travels.
We do. We do a lot of planning. And now doing content creation, we really have to plan out like a year, sometimes a year and a half in advance, and we look at what the amount of money we believe we'll have in terms of expenditures, and then we budget for it. We set aside money. Like I said before in a travel video, we have a travel account that we put any kind of money that we get. When folks watch our YouTube channel and there's the ads on it, the money that we get there goes into the travel. When you folks purchase one of the wonderful merch that we have in our store, we do a split. We make donations to
the Trevor
Project and Doctors Without Borders, and then we put the remainder in the travel account. And if we get any excess money, birthday money,
yep,
we will put it in there. So that's how we build up that account.
So it's a good time to say, if you enjoy listening to our podcast, we'd appreciate it if you'd subscribe. And also, if you'd like to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Two Gay Grandpas Travel, we'd really appreciate it. If you also hit the like button and the notification bell, it helps those algorithms, which helps us to monetize our account and helps us to travel more.
Yeah, and while we're at it, check out our merch. Okay, look, Christmas is coming up, and I know some people have birthdays.
There you go.
who would not want a Travel Your Heart mug? Or for those of you that like, what do they call the sticky thingies?
Stickers. Yeah.
Stickers, that's what they're called.
Those are called sticky thingies.
The
Amazing how
that
they
just
came
drives
with
me
that name.
crazy. You know, because people like to put those on their phones, on their
Computers, laptops,
So we have
iPads.
those. Yeah.
Let's go
I'll
on.
put this down. That shameless self-promotion.
He's horrible. Anyway, do you have any travel experiences that significantly changed your perspective on life?
Yes. There's so many of them.
Mhm.
There really is.
Just pick one.
Okay. When we went to Croatia,
Mhm.
okay, and then we went up to that fort on the hill above Croatia.
Hvar was the island.
The fort above Dubrovnik. Above
Dubrovnik. Yes, okay.
And we went through and we watched some videos and saw this museum of their war. And it was so touching and so moving for me. And to see the destruction that had rained down on this beautiful city of Dubrovnik.
Yeah. You can still see the bullet holes in some of the walls as you walk around the town.
Yeah, that touched me emotionally. That how we as human beings can do that to one another.
Yeah.
And when we really do have so much more in common. I mean, we share one Earth, one planet. And can't we all just get along?
I think the thing that significantly impacted my perspective is something I've mentioned before. And it's in general. After traveling, you start to realize that the people you encounter love the places where they live. Croats love to be Croats. Italians love being Italians. And for some reason, maybe it's just my perspective, growing up here in the United States, I was always under the impression that given the chance, anybody would prefer to be an American if they could be. And that was a big wake-up call for me to learn that people are actually very happy in their countries.
And they love them.
Yeah, and they're proud to be that.
Absolutely.
Oh, here's a great question. I don't know what person wrote this. How do you maintain your diet when traveling?
You don't.
Diet? What diet?
Yeah, vacations are not about diet. Confession. On our 6-week road trip through the UK and Ireland, I gained 15 pounds.
Yeah.
How can you not? You're eating full English, full Irish, anything that had full, and then on Sundays, you had the
Sunday roast. Or for breakfast, scones with clotted cream.
Or the porridge.
Oh, gosh, yes. Well, the gist of it is very challenging to diet. But if you can, walk a lot.
Oh, yeah.
You'll do a lot of walking. In fact, I think one of the few vacations where we didn't gain weight was we had a long driving trip through France. And France has a lot of fabulous salads. And for some reason, we didn't gain as much. Of course, we were years younger. It gets harder as you get older, let me tell you. And I always say, anytime we're on a cruise and we go to the gym, I always say I'm going to start out the morning at that gym, and never happen.
Yeah, the only time I ever got into the gym on a cruise ship was to film it.
Yeah.
Okay, being
honest. Yeah. Full disclosure.
That's it. Since getting back, I've lost 11 of those 15 pounds.
And that's why we sometimes have to come back for a while, just so that we can get on our diets, take care of our medical issues, and just repair and refresh before the next journey.
Yeah, well, the whole point is you're over there and you're seeing all of this new food, and you just want to sample and graze.
Of course, and one of our phrases, no meal, no memory.
No meal, no memory.
Okay, what advice would you give to somebody if you get lost in a foreign country and you don't speak their language?
Well, just explore or seek out help. And that is probably a great story for you to say.
Yes. Well, what happened is the very first time we went to Switzerland, we hadn't intended to go to Switzerland. We were driving in northern Italy and took a turn. This was before GPS in the cars. And we ended up in Switzerland.
We ended up in downtown.
Yeah, and we were just, oh my God, where are we?
We were in What was the city?
I don't think it was Geneva. I can't even remember what city it was now. But anyway, so we were in this very urban area, parked and said, okay, we just got to get out of the car. And I remembered a piece of advice that I had heard on television before, and that was find the first 5-star hotel you can find. So we were walking, and I saw the Peninsula Hotel. I went into the Peninsula Hotel, went up to the concierge, and of course, being a 5-star hotel, they spoke perfect English, which is important to remember. And he pulled out a map, gave us a little guide, and showed us exactly how to get on our way. So always try to look for information and helpful people, but always a 5-star hotel if you can find one.
Actually, one of the most helpful people was a person who didn't even know they were helping us. Remember, we were just on the Italian autostrada, but the next thing, the autostrada ended downtown, and we came to a dead end on our side, but on the there was like an opening or a side next to it, and this motorcyclist came by and just took it. And I said, well, it must be
Follow
legal.
him.
Follow that motorcyclist.
When in doubt.
And that motorcyclist, unbeknownst to him, got us to the peninsula.
Yes. And also, nowadays, even overmapped GPS.
Or both.
Yes. Okay, you just got back from an extended trip abroad. This is a recent question. What's it like to travel for that long?
This was one of our longest.
It was our longest.
6 weeks. We started out 6 weeks.
Ended up being 7.
7 weeks if you add in
Our trip to Google.
Our trip to Google. No, our trip to New York.
Well, it was for Google.
Go up here at Google, and if you haven't seen that video on
Check it
YouTube,
out.
check it out. It was such an honor to be asked to be there. Anyway,
what's it like to travel for that long?
yeah, you know what? I don't want to say it was a factor of my age. Okay, I don't, but I'm going to cop to it. There were times that I got very tired because we did a lot of hiking, we did a lot of walking, and I remember that one time where we thought we were just hiking to a waterfall that was supposed to be, what, a half a mile?
Yeah.
But we took the wrong fork in the
4
road.
miles.
And it is 5.5 miles. Who are you kidding?
4 miles.
I got back to, and we didn't have any water because we figured no water, no food. We did exactly everything that we told you guys not to do.
Oh, well. But I don't think we're going to be traveling for that long a period. We fell into a trap that we typically do, that when you go overseas and you see something, it's like, oh, look at how close that country is. But this is over here, and this is, and you just keep adding it and adding it. If you are going to do a long trip, make sure that you plan some days that are vacation from vacation so that you can rest up. We use those days actually to edit and get all the filming together and we did some podcasts. We were there. So every day we were either working on filming or we were traveling to a filming location. So it was a little exhausting.
Yeah, it did get a little intense. Would I do it again?
Oh, yeah.
In a minute.
We're horrible. What are some of the hidden gems you have discovered?
Oh,
so many.
Where do I begin? In Slovenia, the capital city, Ljubljana,
I was going to say
was a jewel. In Croatia, I loved Rovinj. I loved that little port town. It was just so, for a lot of reasons. In Germany, I loved that white Baroque church, that cathedral, out in the middle of a field.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it now, but it was like being inside a porcelain vase.
Yeah, it was absolutely beautiful. In Edinburgh, the Edinburgh Cathedral, one of, I think, probably the most beautiful I've ever been in. I loved it. So there are a number of things. Those are just some samples.
Yeah. The one that comes to mind was just on our recent trip was the little town of Frome. in the southern western part of England. It was just recommended to us, and we drove there. It was a charming little town. We went into a bakery, and the man had just made fresh bread, so of course we bought a loaf of bread. This goes back to the question about dieting. But so many times the hidden gems come from discovery, not things you've planned before or things you've seen pictures of, but things that you just encounter along the way. Another place, Annecy in France. It's they call it the Venice of France. And it's a small, beautiful town, absolutely gorgeous canals and things that we had not really known about before.
Yeah, and in Canada. In Canada, when we were going up the drive from Vancouver up to Whistler, what they call the Sea to Sky, the waterfalls.
Yeah.
And then
stunning.
I mean, there's just so much in this world that's so beautiful.
Just keep your eyes open.
Yeah.
Do you travel much in the USA? Because you mentioned Europe a lot. Where have you been in the USA?
All right, we have been to 21 states.
At least. Well, I've been to a few more because I used to live on the East Coast, and my family, we would travel down to Florida.
And you're older.
Well, no. No. So I've seen a few more, but we've mostly a lot of the national parks is what has made us travel around the western United States. We have seen, gosh, how many national parks? Grand Canyon, Teton,
we have
at least a dozen.
Because we have that app, the National Park System. We've been to 29.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so we've been to a lot of parks. We used to do a lot of camping, but of course, we weren't filming at the time, so we'll have to go back and film. We did a year before this. We did do some filming.
We did do some filming. That was just before the National Park System got a little picky about content creators, and I kind of rebelled.
Grandpa couldn't fly his drone. Let's cut to the chase.
It wasn't just that. They wanted so much money per national park to film in it. And it was like, we're filming with little equipment. We're not commercial photographers or filming an automobile commercial, for heaven's sakes. It was...
Does take a little of the fun out of it.
Yeah, and also they have become so packed. And I understand the National Park System wanting to preserve them because, let's face it, there are a lot of people, and you've seen the things on TikTok and YouTube and Instagram, going out there and sending their kids to be standing near elk during rut season, trying to get a close up with the buffalo, or walking over the geyser floors and all that where you could fall in, and that just a total disrespect, which also bothers me. But we were fortunate enough to get to a lot of the national parks before
before they got too crowded.
Yeah, before. Yeah.
But we've also done things like driven up the entire California and Northwest coast. Yeah. We've been to major cities like Chicago, New York, Miami. We enjoy, every single place has a different thing to enjoy. Yeah. So mainly it's get out there and do it. Well, which is a good last question. What future travel plans do you have on the books?
Wow. Well, some of it's still in planning. We will be leaving the day after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
We're flying. We're flying to London. That'll be our first stop on about a
almost
15 day exploration adventure of Christmas markets
in Europe.
In Europe and in England.
Well, we're starting off with England as part of Europe.
Well, okay.
They may have left the EU, but I think they're still part of it.
The whole Brexit thing threw me off, okay?
Anyway, this is Grandpa Scott's very special birthday.
I'm 22.
Yeah. And this is my present to him. So we're going to start off in London. We're going to go to Paris. We're going to go to Colmar, Strasbourg, Cologne, and Brussels. And we're going to see all the Christmas markets, and we're going to film them and bring them to you.
Yeah. We'll be putting those out on the YouTube channel, So watch for those.
Yep. And then next summer, we're going to be in the Mediterranean. Yay! We're taking a cruise.
10-day.
Yeah, in the Mediterranean ports and seeing some interesting places that I've always wanted to see, like Casablanca and Mallorca. And then we're still planning what else we're going to do over there, Spain, Portugal. So that's kind of up in the air.
Yep.
And we have something that we're working on.
Yes, we're still working on it. It's because these things are always, have to be done well if they're going to come off right. But
it might be something that we could share with our viewers.
Well, the whole thing is we're planning our first group cruise. And we're really looking forward to that. There's just a lot
that goes into it. And we don't want to make any announcements until we have things down to make sure it's right for us and right for you.
But there'll be a website that you can go to sign up or to explore the itinerary. But we're looking forward to that.
Yep. So that's in the works. But that would be next year as well.
Yeah. So we do have more things to go on. We still are looking at hopefully being able to go to Tokyo with a couple of our grandkids in 2026.
Yeah.
That's coming up too.
Yep, that'll be down the road. So what did you think of this episode, Grandpa?
I think, I know that I love it when we get asked questions and that we can respond to them and kind of share a little more
like our
ourselves.
diets.
Or lack of. Yeah. So, and please continue to send in questions.
Yeah, we appreciate it. We always love to hear your comments, and we'll answer every single one.
Yeah, on the podcast, wherever you're listening to, you know that you can send us a text or an email. Mm-hmm. There's a little place for you to do that. We love hearing from you. If you're watching on YouTube, please, you can put those in the comments section.
Or email us.
Or email us at 2gaygrandpastravel@gmail.com.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what are we going to do for the next episode? I know this was one of our favorite types. What do you got planned?
Ooh, next episode, we're going to be celebrating
Halloween.
And we may have a trick. Hopefully more treats.
Oh, boy.
More treats than tricks.
Costumes?
Some surprise. Grandpa, don't give everything away.
I wonder what he'll come as this year.
I'm thinking about coming as a 22-year-old weightlifter.
Now that I gotta see. I don't think there's enough special effects to pull off that one, Grandpa.
Oh, that's just really cool.
Oh, I'm sorry. I love you the way you are.
What, an old raisin?
Anyway, we hope you'll join us for our Halloween podcast. And while you're at it, we'd really appreciate it if you'd subscribe to our podcast and also subscribe to our YouTube travel channel, Two Gay Grandpas Travel. We'd really appreciate it.
We really would. We do not take your following us or your subscribing to our social media platforms for granted at all. We really honor it.
And we really appreciate you coming along on our journeys through life and through all of our travels. So as we always say, whether you're traveling through life or traveling the world, travel your heart. Bye-bye, folks.
Bye, everybody.